Obviously, to prepare the acorn squash and the sweet potato for the lasagna, we're actually going to end up having to roast them. So I'm gonna go through real quick and just show you how a quick and easy way to get them ready for the lasagna and how to kind of cut them up and prepare them. So we'll just get right into it. Okay, so right now, the only thing I've done so far is preheated my oven to 350 degrees. And I'm estimating it's probably going to take about 45 minutes to possibly an hour for these things to cook through and get nice and soft and be the way that I want them to be for the lasagna. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I've already washed and dried these just to make sure there's no residue in there. And I am just going to, for the acorn squash, I'm simply going to slice it in half. Acorn squash are a little tough to get through. Sometimes it helps if you, this stem part right here, sometimes it helps if you just cut that part off to begin with, but it doesn't looks like this one's on there pretty good, so I think I'm just going to leave it intact. But this is what you want to do. Here, it actually just came off. Alright. And I'm actually going to do the same thing right here with the sweet potato. I'm just going to cut it in half. You want to make sure you use a really pretty sharp knife when you're doing this because actually the duller the knife, the easier it's going to be for you to get cut because it's probably going to slip out of your hand. But and for those of you who've never seen the inside of an acorn squash, this is what it's going to look like when you open it up. So the first thing we have to do here is get a spoon, and you're just going to run the spoon around the inside part here and just scoop out all of the seeds. Alright, so here's the acorn squash all nice and cleaned out. And the next thing I'm going to do is prepare them to go into the oven. I mean, you actually could just sit them in there right on the rack or on a pan like this, but what tends to happen is when you put it in there like that, because a lot of the moisture evaporates, they tend to get kind of a tough skin on the inside part, and I just want all of this to stay nice and soft so that we can utilize every little piece of the flesh here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to wrap them in tin foil, and it's going to create a little bit of a steam chamber in there that's just going to cook it nice and all the way through, and it's going to really keep the moisture in there. Today I am using the brand is actually Environment Friendly Products, if you care. And it's 100% aluminum foil that is completely recycled. I guess I should have said 100% recycled aluminum foil, but you get the point. I think even when it comes to small things like this, just making informed buying decisions, I mean, this is obviously great for the environment, but it's also supporting the natural product market, and I think that's something we need to do to help kind of bring down the prices a little and increase the market demand for these types of products. So here's what it looks like if you want to look for it in the store. I know they sell it at Whole Foods, and once again you're gonna have to bear with me here. This is not the best video ever. And I actually, I'm a little funny about the aluminum foil actually touching the food that I'm going to be eating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the food in parchment paper first, and the parchment paper can actually be recycled after you use it. So, and this is another environmentally friendly brand. It's called Beyond Gourmet, and it's made from recycled paper as well. So what I'm going to do is just rip off a couple pieces here, one piece for each. Now, if you're really concerned with reducing waste, you don't have to use the parchment paper. It's just my personal choice. Some people don't like the aluminum foil to touch their food, so that's my reasoning for putting the parchment paper on there. It's also just another level of protection to help keep the steam in. Now, before I wrap these little packages up to go into the oven, I actually want to make sure they're kind of steaming with some flavor in there. So I'm actually going to just take a couple cloves off of this garlic, and I'm going to dice the garlic up, and I'm going to sprinkle it on here. So let me do that first. So as you can see here, for the acorn squash, what I did was I just threw some of the minced garlic in there, and the same thing with the sweet potatoes. Since they don't really have a little crevice to put it in, I just sprinkled it right on top there. And I'm also actually just going to put a couple cracks of black pepper on each piece of produce. I don't really need to put any salt right now because I'm going to put that in later, but I do just want to put a little bit of olive oil. The olive oil will just help to really spread the flavors of everything, and it'll also just add some nice texture to the produce. It'll give it a nice velvety texture once it's finished cooking. And the last thing I actually want to do before I wrap them, let me just get this out here, is I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of sage on everything. I actually prefer to use fresh herbs whenever possible, but like I said, I'm just using what I have around the house. So I have some organic rubbed sage here, and if you're not aware, sage goes really well with any type of squash, potato, pumpkin, anything around, pretty much any starchy autumn produce, sage goes great with. So I am just gonna take a little bit of this sage here, and I'm just going to sprinkle it into each of the squash and a little bit on each sweet potato. And now I think we're actually all set to get these into the oven. And I'm just going to real quick show you how I'm going to package them up and throw them into the oven. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take each piece of produce that we've already prepared, and I'm going to just set it right into the parchment paper. Actually, I'm going to cover it like this to help keep the steam in. And I'm going to do that to each one. Okay, so now that everything's wrapped up in parchment paper, I'm just going to put each into a piece of tin foil. And you just want to make sure that you wrap it really nice and tightly to keep all that steam in there. When I'm finished wrapping them, I'm just going to set them all up right onto a baking sheet, just so that way they don't leak out onto the oven, just in case any of the juices escape. Okay, now once again, I preset the oven to 350 degrees, and everything's all set up and ready to go in. It usually takes about 45 minutes for them to cook all the way through, but I mean, that time is going to vary depending on your produce. You can always, just to check to see if it's ready, you can take it out, unwrap it, and stick a fork in it. If you can stick the fork all the way through without really putting any force into it, then they're finished. So these ones are actually kind of small, so I think they're probably only going to take about maybe 35 minutes. So I will get back with you after they're finished cooking, and in the meantime, we are actually going to learn how to make the pasta.